Thanks for tuning in to 101.3 BKMG The Farce, coming to you live from separate places, pre-recorded. Now presenting, The Bane and Mickey Show. Welcome, everybody, to The Bane and Mickey Show.
Welcome, welcome.
The show where we talk about things.
Yes.
Mostly movie and film things.
Mostly movie and film things. Before we get started, though, and before we do our regular intro, I think we need to address the rumors. Despite popular opinion, I am, in fact, Bane, and Gavin is Mickey.
That's true. Despite my generally bald head.
Now I know what you're thinking. Gavin's got the bald head. He's got a really deep voice. And how could I ever be a villain? Who are we kidding? But
Kendall Sinister. Don't let our exterior fool you.
We just had to put that out there because I know what you all are thinking. And now
in
back
fact,
to
Mickey,
the regularly scheduled program.
Well, as always, have you seen anything good recently?
Yeah, I started watching The Leftovers, which I think it's a show that's been ended, but it was recommended to me, and so I decided to watch it. It's a weird sci-fi, bunch of people disappear, people are trying to figure out what happened, blah, 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 and like disappear as in they're there one moment, gone the next, and we're talking like a third of the population. I'm only a couple episodes in, but it's...
Is that the one where all the adults disappear, or is that something else?
No, that's something else, because in this, kids disappear too. The one where the adults disappear... what's that one called? It's called, like, the... Not Colony. Or are you thinking of the one where, like, when you reach...
The Society, maybe?
Society, yeah, it's the Society. Which is also something I need to watch. This, The Leftovers, though, has Christopher Eccleston, and I don't think I've seen him in... No, that's a lie. I've seen him in stuff since Doctor Who, but he has an American accent, and it's pretty decent, but it's also like, who are you?
Very off-putting.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I think the only thing I've ever really seen him in, other than Doctor Who, was when he played Destro in G.I. Joe.
Oh my gosh.
So not his best role.
Wait, I have to look him up real quick just to see.
Well, while you do that,
he is in Thor.
What? Oh, that's right. Yes, he plays Malachi.
Uh-huh. And I saw him in King Lear and Macbeth. And recorded versions of it. I did not see them. Yeah. What the fuck? He was in The Borrowers.
Oh, that's like a different version. There's like the Jim Broadbent version. And
this is
that's
like
a
a
different
remake
version.
Or something?
Yeah, I remember seeing that too, and I freaked out. Because I was like, he wasn't in that movie. I've seen that movie a bunch of times. But it's a different version.
Oh, wow. He plays the dad, too. Weird.
He was in 28 Days Later. I don't remember.
I have to watch this version. Yeah, the original Borrowers has Tom Felton in it.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's so little. And he has like bright red hair. Like a bushy like afro almost. It's insane. This was before Harry Potter.
I would hope so.
You would hope
that's also the one with John Goodman.
Yeah. Oh, throwback. Yeah, he's on the cover or the photo if you look it up.
Hugh Laurie. What the heck? Do I even remember this movie?
Clearly not.
Yep, there he is. Yep,
I think next week we should talk about The Borrowers.
Maybe we should. I'll have to find it and watch it. Because I clearly don't remember this movie. Because, hey, it's got one of the kids from Jumanji in it.
Oh my god!
The original 1995 one.
Oh my god, wow. And who's playing the dad? What? The guy playing the dad is the guy that plays is Jim Broadbent, right? Yeah, no, Jim Broadbent. Yeah.
I knew that.
Wow.
That's what I was trying to say. Oh my gosh. And Ron Weasley's dad.
Yep.
Mark Williams.
Yep.
Wow. Maybe we should turn this into a Borrowers podcast since we clearly don't remember it. No. We're talking about...
No, we'll find it and we'll do it.
We'll talk about it another time.
Okay, I gotta write it down before we forget, though.
Yes. While you do that, I watched The Man Who Killed Hitler and then Bigfoot.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of odd. It was interesting seeing like it was kind of that old like he was a former badass, but now he's old, but he's still kind of a badass. But he was also still old, so he wasn't as skilled as he once was, which I found kind of amusing. Because usually when they're old like that, then they're still cool and they go papa, and they do all the same things they did when they were like 20, but now they can't.
But
So
now
ha
they
ha
can't.
ha. But today we're going to talk about not the Borrowers
No.
or the Bigfoot movie.
No.
We're going to talk about The Devil All the Time.
Yes. We figured we would do a slightly more relevant new film. What?
Before it becomes irrelevant and not new.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to talk about The Devil All the Time, which came out earlier this year in the fall.
Came out like
By
last month,
this year, I
in
mean
September.
2020, because I think this episode will be out in the new year.
We really probably record these way too early.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? Anyways, it came out in, September?
Yeah. Something like that.
And it was released onto Netflix, which was the plan all the time.
The devil all the time.
the plan all along, I'm pretty sure, was to put it on Netflix.
Yes.
It's
From what
one
I
of those
understand of
films.
it.
And by one of those films, I mean a film that Netflix was like, yes, we will produce it and buy it from you. Not produce it, we will buy it from you.
Not just you made it in theaters and we're going to buy it.
Yeah.
And put it on our streaming service, which might happen to the new James Bond, so we'll see.
Except it also says so originally it was supposed to come out this December or whatever, 2020. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then they changed it to where it's going to come out in June 2021. But then they might change it again. Who knows? I just want to see it. It's fine. Yeah, so The Devil All the Time, it's an interesting, like, gothic country story. It's based around religion, but it's not like a religious film.
Movie. It kind of is in some ways.
It is, but it's not like a Christian, like,
right.
cheesy.
Not in the sense you would normally think. It's
right.
Sort of like, I mean, it's faith adjacent.
Yeah, and it's adapted from a book written by Donald Ray Pollock, who actually narrates the film, which I thought was really, really cool.
I thought it was cool, but did you feel like there was too much narration?
There was a lot of narration. No, there was a lot of narration. I just thought it was cool that they brought the author in for it.
No, I agree. That's cool.
I haven't read the book yet. I've been wanting to. I wanted to read it before I saw the film, but then didn't. And then I got it from the library, but, did the thing where it sat around for a couple weeks until it was overdue, and then you have to return it. So I never actually read it, so I'm back on the waiting list for it. But apparently the book is like, you thought the film was intense and there's a lot going on. Apparently they, like, lightened it up a little bit. So
they lightened it up. That's unfortunate.
So
because that's
a lot happened. Yeah, a lot, I guess, happens in the book in comparison. They like laid back a little bit on Willard, which he's already a fairly intense man, but apparently is more so in the book. This is coming from my friend who is a big fan of the book before the film even came out. I got all the inside details. But yeah, where to start?
Well, we should start at the very beginning. It's a very good place
to start.
Don't sue us.
Hey, it was less than, 3 seconds? I don't remember what Patrick said.
Still don't sue us, please. I remember I was sort of unsure when I first, kind of heard about it. And, the trailer made it seem good, but, when it first started, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this.
It's also one of those films where there's so many big names in it that you're, a little hesitant, because you're like, okay, what is this film about, and why are all these people in it that I know that you know?
There's no American people in this movie.
I know, right? What?
They're all Swedish or Australian or
or British.
English.
It's like, and they're all doing Southern accents,
I know.
which is like, I don't know. Apparently, American accents are not. Apparently, they're hard, but apparently they're not that hard for British people.
I heard
Don't quote
something
me
that
on that, but
British people say it's really easy to do like a Southern accent.
maybe, yeah, maybe. And
So maybe
Southern
that's why.
and what is it like Canadian kind of Canadian
Or
or
New
like
York. I
New
don't know.
York because they have similar um, vowel sounds and whatnot, which is true. Uh, I took a dialects class, so I'm an expert. No, I'm not.
So
But
Kendall, please tell us in your expert opinion,
Jesus,
what did you think of the dialects in this film?
no. But my professor, who actually is an expert on dialects, can attest that that most of this information is true. Oh my
But
god.
don't quote us on it because we're probably wrong.
Didn't get a piece of paper for nothing, you know? Um yeah, anyways, despite all that though, I think the cast is amazing. I think it's really well done.
Yes.
They all do an amazing spectacular job and their accents. I was saying I'm not from the area, but they sound accurate to me. Or
I
they sound well done. They're at least consistent. I don't
mhm.
know how accurate they are. Can
But they're
someone?
consistently Southern
But
sounding.
they are consistent, and that's important. Is the consistency. But yeah, if anyone is from uh, Ohio or West Virginia and can um, confirm how accurate these accents are,
That would be great. Thank you.
it would be wonderful. Let us know. Yeah, but I think they're well done, but they're also funny in some way, probably just because it's not any of their natural accents. And so when you think of Tom Holland doing a Southern accent, you're like, okay, well, what is this? And then you hear Bill Skarsgård doing a Southern accent, and you're like, Pennywise does not sound like this. And
But like,
then
when is Tom Holland ever like a little British kid? I feel like he's
never
always some American kid.
when he's in interviews, and even when he's in interviews, he's like half in, half out.
He's half and half.
um,
Tom, I'm kind of afraid to tell you, you're only half British. You're half.
oh my god.
I think it was funny to
Oh no
hear
no no
the.
no. In The Impossible, he's British. They all are.
Doolittle. That's right. He's
Oh
Doolittle.
my
In
god.
Doolittle, he's British too.
Oh, I
But
forgot he
still,
was in that. Anyways, I think it's just funny to to listen to the accents because it's like none of you actually have this accent. It's funny. Um,
I think it was funny when there was the guy who called Sebastian Stan. He was like, "Yeah, he's not bad looking."
yeah. It's also an interesting casting choice. It's kind of like Knives Out in where it's not a character. They're not typecasted really in
Hmm.
any way. Um, Tom Holland plays a character that I mean, well, maybe I don't know, a little more recently. But he plays a fairly angsty young adult man, but also has some really heavy, intense moments where you're like, this is not Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't kill.
Spider
Um,
Man, you're not like that. Spider Man, hey Spider Man,
and
what are you doing?
yeah, and like Sebastian Stan playing a cop, and even Robert Pattinson.
Ugh, I hated
It's
his character so
I did
much.
not. Well, yeah, and his character is not likable at all, which is an interesting choice because they choose, they have Robert Pattinson in in that sense of like we want you to like him, but you also cannot like him. So it's a
Right.
weirdness. Also, I think I last thing I saw him in was Lighthouse, which
I've only
is
seen him in now this, but before that it was just Harry Potter and Twilight.
I
I'll be
have never
honest.
seen Twilight, but yeah, Harry
I need
Potter.
to
Um,
expand my Pattinson
you should watch The
vault.
Lighthouse. It's amazing.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it was interesting to see him in this and the role that he is in. He plays a preacher who's fairly corrupt. I mean, everyone is corrupted, and you were saying
Only
it's a
like Tom Holland's not soup. I mean, he's not like a good person. I don't think Tom Holland anyone's a good person in this movie
yeah.
except for Maybe Lenora.
maybe Lenora and their
Maybe
mom
the
or the
grandma.
grandma. Yeah, and his mom,
Uh,
or yeah, Arvin's mom,
yeah.
and the dog.
I don't want to talk about it.
um, yeah, you were saying it's a. I mean, it's a story about religious
Fanaticism.
fanaticism. Thank you for.
I sort of butchered the word. Like religious fanaticism and how it affects people in their communities
Mhm.
and
And this blind
sort of the
following.
blind
Um,
following of religion. You see it a lot with like Roy, Tea Garden,
Willard.
Willard. I feel like Willard sort of like I feel like he's.
Yeah, he's just a little more. He doesn't think before he does stuff.
I mean, I feel like he's a little bit, but he wasn't relying on it until. Also, spoilers for this before we get too much further. Until his Charlotte gets cancer, and
Yeah,
then he gets kind of all in and double down on
yeah, because
everything.
he had that break after going to war, but
Hmm.
it's it's that blind following that, but also that kind of like corruption behind religion in like if you're a leader or a person in a position of power within a religion, you can kind of do whatever you want because no one's going to question you, sort of thing.
Hmm.
And like that gets to where it gets a little culty and whatnot, but in reality, every religion is kind of a cult. Um,
Every religion is a cult.
whether you know, we have just taken the word cult and it has a different association than
Hmm.
it's.
There's sort of a negative connotation to the word.
Yeah,
Like when you say cult, you think bad thing, but I mean, if you look at the sort of
if you
definition
look at
of
the
it,
actual definition, it
every religion is kind of a
yeah.
cult. It's not a bad thing.
No, but it certainly, this story certainly expresses the amount of coercion and kind of like corruption that is behind all of these uh organized religions, which I mean, I'm not going to get into that because that's not what we're talking about, but there are plenty of moments in history and whatever where you can account an organized religion being
And
corrupted.
just so it's also clear, we're not saying that if you are one of those people, that means you are
No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
like that. It's but in this case, it's just sort of showing that that is something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you see it with like Roy in Tea Garden, like how they sort of
Yeah.
get corrupted by the power of being a preacher, and how and the narrator even says it right off the top that Tea Garden likes people paying attention to him.
Mm-hmm. And
So he's
even
more of a narcissist,
yeah,
and that's the only reason he's in it.
and I mean you can see that happening with Roy too, when he's first brought up to preach,
Hmm.
and then kind of takes that power or what he assumes the power he has, and ends up killing his wife.
Hmm.
Um, and
I would
then
have liked to see a little more of her. I like
yeah,
Mia Waikowska.
yeah, she wasn't in it for very long.
But it also does show the flip side where, like, it's almost more of a personality thing than a religious thing. Because, like, you see people like Lenora, the grandma, his mom, who are more, like, they're better people, and they just sort of use religion to uplift their own spirits and things
Right.
like that. They're not trying to get anything from it other than like personal fulfillment and happiness
Right. And I
sort
mean,
of
you
thing.
even have that moment where Arvin tells Lenora she prays enough for all of them. Um, in sort of that like a you need to stop, but also like
Thank you.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's certainly interesting. And I mean that also is just it goes to show their own situations and you know their own way they were raised. You know, you can see how Arvin has kind of like pushed away faith after his experience with his father as a young boy, and so
Hmm.
you know you can see how the difference is versus Lenora stayed with their grandmother, who was
Right.
yeah.
Um, you mentioned the non-linear storytelling, which I thought was
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool. They all kind of all the stories are sort of separate, but they kind of end up converging at the end.
They're yeah they're all interconnected, which you don't know how at first that they're all going to be connected. You can tell because of the narration and just the way the story is set up that you're like, somehow all of these are going to come together towards the end, but you just don't know how.
Hmm.
Um, and it's kind of a wild turn the way they do all connect, but I think it's
Sort of a last
also,
man standing thing.
yeah. I also kind of like the way they did it in the film, in where they would go back to moments. Like you would see a moment very shortly or very subtly, and you wouldn't get all of the information or everything that's happening. But then once it gets connected to someone else, you go back to that moment and kind of it's revealed
Hmm.
everything that
Some more of
happened
its
at that time.
importance.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like the way they set it up and the way they do it. It's really well done, and it's not like it doesn't feel disconnected at all. Like it flows very well and transitions very well between the different characters. I would say there's three stories, 3 to 4 stories,
Three, four stories. I don't know.
but they don't like they transition very nicely between them. It doesn't feel abrupt or anything when it goes from
Hmm.
Willard to Roy or to
Right.
Arvin. It's yeah,
To Sandy and whatever her husband's name was, Jason Clark's
Carl,
character, Carl,
and
whatever.
yeah, and then over to Sebastian Stan. I mean, but he's part of
Hmm.
that story. But
A
he's
little bit. I don't know. It's kind
they're
of
all over.
interesting.
They're all
It
over.
kind of reminded me of The Witcher season one. I don't know if you watched it, but they kind of like tell like three stories, sort of, but
Hmm.
they are not linear. Like they start at different points, and throughout the season, they're kind of like on three different timelines that end up converging at the end
Yeah,
into one, and then you kind of get the full scope of everything. It was pretty cool. It was kind of confusing at first, but once you sort of realize what's going on, it's neat.
yeah, yeah. I think it's really well done, and it's a very it's a very heavy and intense, dramatic story, but it's super well done. And I mean, every one of the cast is amazing. They're
Hmm.
all given equal time and equal moments to really express their performance. Um, and yeah, they all do amazingly well at them. Um,
You mentioned Harry Melling,
yep.
aka Dudley from Harry Potter.
Yes. When I first saw this and I saw that scene, or he came up for the first time, I was like, hold the phone. I swear that's Dudley. And I had to pause the movie and look it up because it was indeed. But yeah, oh my gosh, he's such a funny guy, which I feel like a lot of people don't pay attention to him anymore, or have at all, just because he played Dudley in Harry Potter, and then like that's it for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but he's so funny, especially in this film. It's so dramatized and like it's hilarious. And yeah, he looks really good. He's I don't know how old he is now, but he's like aged really
Probably like
well.
30.
Yeah, and he's just doing great for himself, especially getting a role like this after playing fucking
Well,
Dudley.
he was also in Queen's Gambit,
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
and he was really good in that too. It
Yeah,
was kind of cool seeing him
I'm kind
as
of
an
like a
older
proud
fella.
parent, even though he's far older than me. But I'm a proud
But it,
parent watching him grow into more things, and things where it's not like he's not being typecast or he's not being like
mhm,
taken as Dudley.
right.
Whereas, like, I mean, I think Daniel Radcliffe has kind of done a similar thing, but that's a lot harder being like the title character of a giant ass franchise. But
Right.
like Rupert Grint hasn't really done a whole lot. He's done
I
a
feel
few
like he's
things,
done
but
more than he just doesn't do a lot of like in like popular stuff.
yeah,
But he's I feel like he's done quite a bit.
yeah. Versus like Emma Watson has done a lot and not falls short, but I think people are always still viewing her as Hermione, so it's hard. But yeah, I'm proud of Harry Mullings and keep up the good work. He's never gonna hear this. It's fine. Um, yeah.
He's
Anyways,
done a few shows.
he
Rupert
has.
Grint has.
Yeah, he was also in I don't even know, but yeah. Anyways, watch The Devil All the Time just for the first scene with Harry Melling where he's it's so hilarious. It's so accurate of a sermon, especially a small town sermon. I've been to my fair share, and it's like I'm not shitting on like religion or Christianity, but I have been to these services and it's so accurate, but also like dramatized, and it's over the top and great. And he does such a good job. Oh my gosh. He needs to do more.
I think he'll start doing more now.
I would certainly love to. I mean, this is also, I would say a bigger role compared to having like a short appearance or something in a TV show or a film. He's in a good third of this movie and does. And
I feel like he's not in that much of it. I feel like
at least the first half of it. But he's so physical and like he just dives into the character so well, and just kind of the mental degradation that goes on. I think specifically when in his wife's final moments, he does a really good job. Also, I don't know. Were those spiders CGI? They definitely were, but like also, what was he actually pouring on his face? I don't know.
It still skeeved me out, even though I knew they were fake.
Yeah. Editor Kendall here, letting you know that after we recorded this episode, I actually watched a interview with Harry Melling and the director Antonio Campos, specifically about this spider scene. Now, those were actual, real spiders that they used for that scene. No animation, no CGI. They were harmless little guys. I don't remember the species, and they were very extra careful to make sure none of them were hurt in the process of this scene. And there was a lot of discussion and planning and talk between Harry Mellings and the director for this part. But real spiders, just a fun fact of the day, which makes this scene even worse to watch, knowing that he is pouring real spiders onto his face. Anyway, just wanted to correct that and make a little note and let you know that little tidbit of information. Carrying on. But yeah, I'm hoping this film gets some good nominations. Like for directing, it was directed by Antonio Campos, who also co-wrote it with, I think, his brother, Paulo Campos. I'm probably saying the name wrong.
Paulo?
Campos. But, it'd be awesome if they got some nominations. I don't know the exact details, but I know they've changed kind of the Oscar qualifications this year, to where it has you just have to be on a big streaming site of some kind versus like originally for qualifications you had to have been at a box. Yeah, you had to have a theatrical release at like a major theater, not like a little independent one. And they changed that
for some amount of time.
Yeah, they changed that this year. I'll have to look up the details, but I'm hoping that Double the Time can qualify because it would be really awesome for them.
I guess we'll see come more Oscar season.
Yeah. I mean, we should be finding out in a couple months. Nominations.
What the nominations? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to do an Oscars episode.
Yeah, we'll do a little update. It was. I would also say, because how can I not? It's a period piece. It takes place in the 50s, 60s.
50s and 60s, yeah.
And for which I'm trying to find Craig Lathrop did the production design, but for a period piece, it's very subtle and it's very simple in that. I mean, it also helps in the setting of the film, in that it's a very rural, small town, backcountry kind of story, but it's so subtle in you don't have to recreate big buildings or sets. A lot of it takes place outside or in this little chapel. And so, a lot of the design comes in like with the wardrobe, and I mean, there's like one or two cars, but
still,
it's real.
Very pretty.
It's very pretty, very nice. I think the biggest period design element is the brief flashbacks to when Williard is in the war.
Mhm.
But even that is very brief and short, and there's not a ton of they're on kind of like a no man's land battlefield, so they don't have to recreate a ton of it, just mostly like the uniforms. But yeah, it's very pretty looking in the design, but also just cinematography and
Sort of
overall,
simplistic
it's very
in
simplistic.
its design, but like it's
Will
subtle. Yeah, like you said, it
Crawley
was subtle, but it's not.
is director of photography, but
It's not really like look at me, look how pretty I can
yeah,
make my
it's not
sets. It's more
flashy or
like
anything.
this is just the time and setting, and this is how it looks,
Yeah,
and
and
get off my back.
I think that it's really beautiful that way, and it helps you focus a lot more on the story and the performances. Um, yeah, it's very nice. It's nice.
Trying to find the editor. I just want to.
um,
I'm gonna botch her last name, but it's like Sofia Supercaso. I'm guessing that's how you say it. Sophia, if you ever hear this, I apologize for butchering your name.
oh, she's married to the director.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Got a Star Wars situation,
Yeah,
but
which I think
he
that's
probably didn't
cute
try to
and
ruin
like
the movie.
couple goals. Work with your significant other. What better way to spend your time with your best friend? Let's be honest.
she she edited a movie called Nasty Baby.
Emma Potter did the costume design. Um, she's worked on like The Circle as well as Beautiful Boy, which is
And the
a
new
good
Perry
film.
Mason.
Yeah. Um, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I encourage everyone to go watch this film and even just look at all of the creatives and go watch more of their stuff. It's
Yes,
beautiful,
yes.
wonderful stuff. What else has Antonio done? Antonio Campbell.
He hasn't. I
What
don't
have
feel like
you
he's in.
done, sir? Oh my gosh! When you go to his IMDb page, the very first thing is all about the spider scene from The Devil All the Time, and I will watch that later. Actually, it's Harry Melling talking about it, so
Nice.
I'll watch it later. But what has he done? The First
And I
Omen.
feel like
Ooh.
my chiefest complaints with the movie are not like I feel like technically it's done very well. The story is good. The acting is all really good.
Uh huh.
But it's more just like the story elements that they included,
Mm-hmm.
like crucifying Jack or Lenore's hanging
Right, and I mean these are all things
and
that like are
everything
also
about Tea Garden.
from the
They're supposed
book,
to be
and
that
so
way.
it's like you gotta adapt and stick with the original story, but it's also how to include them in.
No, I think they were like the elements were included because they needed to be there and they were
Right.
done well. It just was kind of a
They're
bummer to watch, and it was
unsettling
sad.
and unfortunate, but
Really thought that Lenore's hanging was going to go a totally different way in a
right,
much more graphic direction.
which thankfully was not, but also I think
Hmm.
maybe a little underrated. Not in like glorification of it or anything, but I think a little underrated in at the very last moment she changes her mind, and then
Hmm.
I mean they talk about that and how she had made peace, but it was also like they moved on very quickly from it, and so I think
Yeah.
but yeah. As for Jack, Jack is a dog. Jack is Arvin's dog. I always tell myself and others that if there is ever a dog in a film, don't get attached to it because it's probably not going to stick around.
Probably not.
Um,
We all learned that from I Am Legend.
yeah, it's a sad moment, but also at least Arvin gets a little bit of peace at the end. But it's also like you have to
Hmm.
bury these freaking bones that have been
Yeah.
decomposed and chewed on and emptied for
Yeah.
a decade. But yeah, yeah. And then there's Tea Garden, which again is like
He's supposed to be a
you
piece of
just can't.
trash.
Yeah, he's a piece of trash. And again, it's interesting to have Robert Pattinson play him.
Especially when you're trying to convince people that he's going to be a good Batman.
Right. Right. Um, so it's an interesting choice, but I mean he does it well and he plays it well.
Hmm.
And I really enjoy seeing him come out of this kind of uh, expectation from being in like Twilight and Harry Potter. And I don't remember who was talking about it, but some actor was like talking about how Robert Pattinson just like has taken this suit very very well and it has like very level headedly like not just going into. I mean, he's gonna be Batman, I guess, so that doesn't really work. But
Well, yeah, but
but
he
like
hasn't done anything like that for years and
yeah, and
years.
it's not like he did that immediately after Twilight and whatnot. He
Hmm.
was kind of, I would say, kind of absent for a little bit, and then he's recently come back with some really great pieces, like The Lighthouse or this one. What else did he do
And I
recently?
feel like if you read some of the interviews where he talks about it, he's like, I feel like because it's taking it from a character perspective and how
Yeah.
like a person in that situation is, and it's not like I'm Batman, I'm a
Oh, he's
superhero.
in
Pew, pew,
Tenant.
pew, pew.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, he's done a really, really good job. And I used to, I mean, I was never really a big fan of him, I think, just because of Twilight, but I'm also just not a big fan of Twilight, even though I've never read the books or seen the movies. Don't at me.
Fair
But
enough.
um, I think I was just never a really big fan. And I think he was always kind of stereotyped and because of it. And so I
Hmm.
didn't really want to watch a lot of his stuff until Jack made me watch The Lighthouse, which I was hesitant to watch because it was Robert Pattinson. And I was like, I just don't know. I don't know if I can take him seriously. I don't blah blah blah. But it's such a good movie, and he does so amazingly well. Um, and it's such a secluded piece in that it's basically just him and Willem Dafoe for
Hmm.
for an hour and a half. But it's great, and I think that kind of. I mean, that's also kind of where he's made this not comeback, but
I
you
feel like
know,
also that's like a lot of people's opinions on Robert Pattinson, kind of mine included, where it's like, you know him from Twilight, or that's how you know him,
mm-hmm.
so you're like, nah, I don't really want to see a movie with the
Yeah,
Twilight guy. But then you watch his movies and he's actually really good in
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, he's really, really talented. Um, and it's. I mean, he wasn't a child actor when it came. How old is he?
He's probably like 30s, late
Yeah,
30s.
so he was like 20 in Harry Potter and 25, whatever, in Twilight. So I mean, he's not like a child actor, but it is kind of like that start of the career where it's also like with child actors, whatever. You're not gonna forget about their Disney moments or whatever, but that's
Hmm.
not the important part of what they're doing now or whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, I love that he's doing a lot of these, even just dramatic and intense things
Right.
to really showcase what he can do. I think it's amazing.
How do you feel about Arvin's ending? Because I feel like, I mean, I like it, but I also feel that every other character in the movie who is sort of done wrong
Uh huh.
got comeuppance for what they did,
Right.
but he's the only one who
He
doesn't.
doesn't really have a consequence, but it's also like the narrator says something about him wondering if they'll realize he'd done good. And I mean,
Yeah,
his here's the thing is also it goes back to the Hollywood, what are Hollywood rules called? What were they
the
called?
production code.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it goes back to the old original production code where if you have a character that does something bad or does some wrong, whether it's sexual or violent or murderous, that they have to die in the end. This was a rule that they made because they
It's not
didn't
even
want
that
to
they had to
glorify
die; they just had to have some kind of comeuppance.
comeuppance, but originally and most of the time it was dying.
Hmm.
And so when you look at it that way, in that most of these characters, after doing these horrible things, died, and with like Carl and uh, what's and Tea Garden, Arvin is the one
Delivering
delivering
that.
that sentence, and so can he really be? Can his actions really be bad because of it if he's delivering that sentence? And it
Hmm.
kind of is the same when he's like fighting, beating up the bullies.
Right.
Um,
Or is he? yeah, like you're saying, the deliverer of comeuppance.
versus yeah. It does bring up an interesting question of whether it's justified, and not that anyone should go beat up people or kill people for
But you
justice
also
or
shouldn't,
revenge, but
kill and sexually assault people.
right.
So,
So it's a
which is worse? I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
kind of just something I was thinking about.
It's
Is
the whole justice, revenge,
yeah,
vengeance, avenging your family. I don't know. All the venging synonym.
revenging,
Yeah.
avenging
Ven
Spider-Man.
right. So yeah, I don't know, it's just interesting. And so it's like it but I think also in that last moment, which for those who aren't going to watch it or haven't watched it and want to know, he's sitting in a car and he's falling asleep and he's just contemplating his life and his thoughts and everything that has happened. And the narration, it's he's talking, he's thinking about, yeah, will they see the good that he did? But then I think also his consequences. He's not sure if he can go back home or see his grandmother again or his uncle, and which is not an equal punishment to what everyone else got, but it's also, does he deserve an equal punishment?
And it's also sort of, kind of like the one thing you would actually want.
Right, is for him to go back home and see his family. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
he is, he does have consequences for his actions, and then there's also the thing where he's like, I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe I'll go to war. I don't want to go to war, but that's what I'm good at. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'm good at fighting.
good at fighting. So maybe why not do what I'm good at? Blah blah blah. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it is also a very subtle, almost quiet ending for what the rest of the film is, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's not like abrupt. It's done really well. Um, I think maybe it just leaves you wanting a little bit more, but that's good.
I feel like it works. No sequels.
No, please no. And the
I know
book
that
is not a series or anything.
I know that no one's listening to our podcast probably at this point, and also Compost is probably not listening. But if he is, don't make a sequel.
Yeah, can we
And I feel like
stop?
if you make a sequel, you're gonna ruin everything that
Can we
you've
just
created,
have a year where absolutely no sequels are made?
except for next year. It's mostly sequels,
Okay,
sequels and reboots of stuff.
after 2021, when everything catches up from this year.
Nope, 2022 is more sequels and reboots.
After 2022, when everything
I don't
catches
feel
up,
like it's ever gonna happen.
and after we have the Marvel, after we have our Marvel year, can we just have a, can we
So
just,
with no Marvel movies this year, do you think they're gonna release, 5 next year just to be funny?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. They'll probably still do like 3 or 4. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Just don't
It'll be
make
interesting.
sequels. Make original stuff, please. Except for the sequels we love, obviously. But
Well, then make those. Like if we're gonna like it, make it.
like
But
Deadpool 3, sure. Spider-Man 3, hell fucking yeah.
more
Anyways,
Batman, always.
yeah. Okay. Anyways, other than those sequels, can we just
Other
not
than the sequels that we want,
like Spies
don't
in
make
Disguise?
sequels.
I'd be down, but also, is it necessary?
But
I
also
don't know.
don't.
But
But
anyway,
also don't make sequels. Just do some market research before you make a
listen,
sequel. How
Gavin,
about
we're
that?
such hypocrites.
No, I'm just saying only make sequels to stuff that we want and screw everybody
Like
else.
Black
Like if
Box
we
and
want
Blue
the
Haze,
sequel, then
what?
make it. Yeah.
As long as you can
Eventually we'll make that
convince
Blue
your
Haze
producers
sequel.
really, really well to let you make a sequel of something that you really, really love that was received really, really well. If
Yeah.
it'll bring you profit. All right,
So
on
that's
that
how-
note, let's move on to some random topic time.
Bow, 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 bow. Random topic.
Random topic
The shoebox.
time. The shoebox. I should decorate it and write random topic time on it. What one should we do today?
What we should get is like one of those bingo rollers. Where you just roll
That
it
would
and
be
then it comes
so
out.
good. That would be awesome. I don't know if the paper would work so well. I guess if we crumbled
we
it
just
into
get a
little
really big
paper
one?
balls.
And do it with Easter eggs.
Attaché? Question mark?
Yes, question
What
mark.
kind of case are we talking?
Briefcase, attaché. All right, what random topic have you pulled out for us
Oh,
today?
that was the random topic.
Oh,
Was just attaché? Question mark?
that's not a topic.
I think it's a beautiful topic.
All right,
What to find? Like, okay, if you had to choose a briefcase.
what's the difference between a briefcase and an attaché?
Sure. So, according to Google, practically they're interchangeable.
Wow, that was stupid.
um, but when you compare them side by side, they do have unique histories and distinctive qualities.
Wow.
First of all, attaché is French, and an attaché is small and thin, and usually has symmetrical compartments for documents, whereas a briefcase is usually like a suitcase and has a little pocket.
Little pocket.
And is usually used for carrying money by all the mobs.
Fair enough. And how you do your dirty business deals.
Exactly. You can fit a good few $1 million in there.
Depending on the denomination.
Yeah. In a bunch of stacks. And no one can tell how much is in it. So, unlike in that
if you pull
episode
out
of
one
Psych,
stack
where
and ruffle it next to your ear, then you can tell.
Oh, no, I mean from the outside. Because, like, in that one episode of Psych, when Sean sees the, like, duffel bag and he starts doing, like, math of, like, how many stacks of money can fit in there, and then based on the denomination, how much money... I love that.
That was in the pilot. That was the very first episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's also a dog in that episode.
There is.
But it doesn't die. Don't worry.
No. Or does it? Go watch. Let's do another topic. All right.
Inspector Gadget. Don't sue us.
What TV channel doesn't exist but really should?
The old Cartoon Network.
Okay, a TV channel that has never existed and should.
I don't know. There's so many channels.
I know. I feel like there's a lot that already exist.
They're about to. It seems like Netflix wants to make their own channel, like a TV channel.
What? Who's gonna watch it? Who has cable anymore? If you have cable,
I don't know if they're gonna do it like on
I'm
their.
Gonna set up a poll on who fucking has cable anymore.
I wonder if like they're gonna put it on Netflix and you can be like, just turn this on and it'll start playing things randomly. At different,
if it just.
I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Like if you don't know what to watch and you just want to like turn something on to have in the background.
I guess.
And it would just start. I don't know.
Weird.
It'd be really weird.
Okay, a channel that doesn't exist that should exist. This is weird, but I feel like a live stream of something. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is like the White House. If you just had like a live stream of like various cameras from the White House, just to be like, what are they up to? What do you do in a fucking giant ass building like that? But, and maybe because it's political and so like, it's like you could be like, we have the right to know. But I don't know. If you could live stream someplace. But then
a live stream of the ocean.
Ooh. I would watch that. Just play it in the background.
They need like a live stream.
One of like the NASA stations.
Is it Voyager or is it Challenger? One of the satellites that went out to deep space. A live stream of that.
Yeah.
Except for it wouldn't be a super accurate live stream because it's so far away that the time delay would be crazy.
Or even okay, no. This is what I want. I want a reality show, Big Brother style, of all the astronauts in space. So that we
the
can
International
know,
Space Station.
Yeah, so if we had like a Big Brother ISS, like it's not Big Brother, they're not competing, but it's Big Brother in that there's cameras in every room and they have a diary room. And then you can be like, you can know what all the drama is and what's up. Like Bob over here fucking didn't dispose of his feces and now it's just floating around the space station. Like
he ate the last of the astronaut ice cream. We don't get a delivery for 2 months.
I want my Neapolitan. You know, this is the stuff. That's what I want. I want an ISS. Yeah, I
It's
want
the
an I
ISS.
want an ISS channel live
Live stream.
stream reality show.
I get on board with
NASA, can
that.
you start that, please? Thank you.
Attention NASA, if you're listening, we'd like an ISS live stream, please and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm like, who needs the Kardashians? Why aren't we keeping up with the ISS? That sounds like I feel like that's some weird spy. Like,
Because it sounds
it
terrible.
sounds like
In
yeah.
school suspension.
Anyways, that would
That's what
also
I
be an
had that one
interesting show. Just what?
I got that one time.
That's basically just Freaks and Geeks, right?
I don't know. I've never watched Freaks and Geeks.
Kevin. Anyways,
Yeah.
anyone out there, any studios or networks want to create an ISS reality show? Maybe you only have 2 viewers, but hey, that's enough, right?
That's more than you have right now.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It'd be great. And then you could watch them just float around and be dumb and figure out what kind of space games they play, you know?
Space bingo.
Space bingo,
You just gotta put
space
space in
tag.
front of everything, even if it's not different.
And then if anything ever happens and it becomes alien,
Space Candyland.
we are the first to know. Space Candyland. But how do you know
Space
when
poker.
the dice is done rolling? How do you determine?
I wonder if you could make like a gravity bubble.
You probably could. Yeah, there's probably something.
That'd be pretty neat. Like if Trouble, like had a
oh yeah,
Trouble gravity bubble,
like if
and like you pop it and then it rolls the dice.
and it's like contained in just this little thing. Interesting. Wow. Didn't ISS
Anyways.
just send another rocket or something into space?
I don't know.
They also
That's a
like
brilliant idea. Don't
maybe
steal it.
discovered water or something on the moon.
Yes, I think that's the thing that happened. Water
The
on the
future
moon.
is nigh. Yeah. Their Sophia cam thing discovered water.
Very scientific, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The Sophia Cam thing.
Look it up if you want to know more. I
I
didn't study space. I studied film and space in film. All of my space knowledge comes from Star Trek and The Martian and Alien.
Mine comes
and
from some
2001:
Star
A
Trek,
Space Odyssey.
Doctor Who.
Oh,
Alien,
yeah, I guess Doctor Who. Yeah. It's not
Battlestar
limited.
Galactica.
It's not limited. It's very extensive. And I would like to think it's accurate.
Yes.
And with
it's
that-
called science fiction, not fiction. So,
And with that,
And with-
I think we're going to go start a space podcast. So tune in next week for
the
more
Bane and
space
Mickey show in
facts
space.
from Bane and Mickey.
the Bane and Mickey Space Show in space.
In space. But you can't hear our voices because we're in space.
Bo, bo, bo. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please come back.